Okay, I think we'll start. I'm Mary Croxton, and I am the president of the League of Women Voters of Chautauqua County. I think most of you know who we are, but if you don't, we are a nonpartisan group. We don't support candidates and we don't support parties. But what we do is voter education. That's probably our primary endeavor, and we support legislation that we have come to a consensus on in the league to support. Like something like there's a poster up there for the Equal Rights Amendment, which everybody should be attentive to because we'll be voting on it in April and in November of 2024. And it's an important amendment for New York State. This is not it's a constitutional amendment, but we should all be aware of that. I'm glad to work with the Unitarians. I see them as an allied group, especially when it comes to climate change and green energy and everything that goes along with that. So I'm glad to work with them. I'd love to do something in the future as well. We have a good announcement here. We finally got together a debate for the trustees in Fredonia. And that will be October 24th at the Opera House from 7 to 9. That's a Tuesday. So please, everybody come and hear what the trustees have to say. And I'm going to be forthright. We're not doing the mayor because there is a policy in our policy and procedures in New York State that we don't include write-ins for candidate forums or debates. And there are many reasons for that. We have nothing against write-ins, but that it can be problematic. A couple other things. We have 2 more on-campus voter registration drives, and that will be October 16th, and that would be 11 to 2, and then another one on October 19th, 11 to 2. And the first one will be in the University Commons, and the second one will be McEwen ground level. And we've done about 8 voter registrations there. A lot of kids do their voter registrations when they get their license now. So, when I ask the students, are you registered? You'll have most of them say, oh, I did it when I got my license, which is fine. That's great, increasing the voter. But the new thing is that you'll see over there, vote online, and you take a picture of the QR code and you register through that. So the vast majority of students don't want to fill out those forms. They just want to, take a picture of the QR code. So one last thing, this is our membership month for League of Women Voters, and we'll be getting more information out very, very soon. So I'd like to introduce Jamie Wagner, and she'll do introductions as well. All right.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the meeting house of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Northern Chautauqua. We are a liberal religious community joined by covenant, promises we make to one another to uphold our values and our principles. We're inclusive and welcoming, since our dogma is love. We encourage individual spiritual growth. We extol the interconnectedness of all life. We strive for beloved community, and we seek to transform the world through justice and compassion. We're currently seeking certification as a Green Sanctuary congregation through the Unitarian Universalist Association, which includes a pretty good program of action and education. If you're here for the first time, feel free to take any information from the literature rack in the back. And we have sign-in sheets at both the doors. The one is on the lectern here and one at the back door. Now I'd like to introduce our presenters. They come from Push Green. Jason Posner. Jason, did I say that right? Posner, Jason Posner. I forgot to ask them how to say their names. Started his energy career with New Buffalo Impact, a not-for-profit weatherization company, working on the front lines as a crew chief installing insulation, weather stripping, and foam insulation. After a year, he became a certified building analyst with the Building Performance Institute and obtained certifications as an energy auditor, a building shell professional, advanced air sealing professional, lead abatement supervisor, asbestos removal professional, and OSHA 20. After 8 years with NBI, Jason took the position at Push Green as the Healthy Homes program manager. After 8 years of being a contractor, Jason assists homeowners through NYSERDA programs to become more energy efficient. Jason is also the project manager for the Warm and Dry on the West Side, Push Buffalo's in-house structural retrofit program. Our other presenter is Luana DeJesus. Am I saying your name right? Okay, Luana DeJesus. She worked at Push Green for many years as their first program assistant. Where she helped design and implement customer outreach strategies and the Warm and Dry program. In the past year, she transitioned into her current role as Community Energy Programs Manager and is diving deeper into building networks to scale outreach and education to drive clean energy and energy efficiency among renters, homeowners, and small commercial nonprofits across Western New York. This role includes presentations on energy efficiency and renewables for schools, community-based organizations, faith-based institutions, and the wellness community. Lou is accredited by the Building Performance Institute and certified in core competencies for community health workers, organizing for social change from people's action, OSHA 20, and virtual event planning. So please welcome our guests and our presenters, Lou and Jason.
Thank you so much. After those intros, I'm like, who are those people? I can't wait to hear them. They sound awesome. And all the best with the Green Church designation. That is incredible. So incredible. Can't wait to hear more about that. So again, my name is Lou DeJesus. Yeah, what is my new title? Community Energy Programs Manager with Push Green. And as the slide says, Push Green has become the lead organization for a new formation of folks doing outreach, education, and assistance with green energy and clean energy as part of the Western New York Regional Clean Energy Hub. And there are many more such hubs across the state. Yeah, our mission is, in a really broad sense, to connect Western New York residents with resources that can help make their homes, small businesses, and nonprofits, which includes churches, so churches of any size, warmer, healthier, and more comfortable. And that could mean, sorry, we usually use our own Zoom, so next slide, you can skip over. Yeah, you can skip over that one. Next one, there we go. Uh-oh. Yes, thank you. So this is a little hard to read. I don't know what this glitch is that happened, but most of our programming is through the New York State Energy Research Development Authority. They promote energy efficiency, renewable energy, and emissions reduction, which can take many forms, of course. We generally work with them in the form of things like rebates, incentives, income-based eligibility programs, and in some instances, more now than in the past, NYSERDA has also been funding what they consider to be kind of barriers. So there's going to be funding coming out that we're applying for that we could help folks who say would love to get their home insulated, but their roof leaks So there's no point in even trying to insulate a little bit of funding to help folks in that position. It's small at the moment, but we're hoping to scale that up. And NYSERDA also, if you can slog through that website, there's a lot of really good information on there. It's just, it's dense. You can tell it's a website that's been, being developed since 1975 and added to. Not much taken away. NYSERDA has also been critical in implementing the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, which is the big climate act that folks were pushing for that's finally here. But like a lot of acts, it's kind of announced, not necessarily all the funding has been put toward it. So that's still a fight that we're engaged in, but there have been a lot of good things that have come out of having that act pass. Next slide, please. So Push Buffalo. We were trying to remember when Push Green actually started. Push Green is kind of the little sister of Push Buffalo. So Push Buffalo started getting involved in affordable housing and realized quickly you simply cannot build enough affordable green housing. And some folks don't want to live in multi-unit properties. So they started Push Green with the aim of using a variety of funds, including some the measures that were taken to have polluters pay in the 2010. Some of that funding went to us to start having energy efficiency work done for regular old renters and homeowners of all sorts. Since that time, which we're guessing must have been about 2013, maybe? It was a long time ago. We have gone on to expand to our current form, where we take the goal of affordable green housing and living across 5 counties in Western New York. Our team is BPI certified, Building Performance Institute certified. So that means we have a pretty good measure, and Jay especially can walk into a situation with a homeowner that's a little bit unsure and have a very good knowledge, the same kind of working knowledge of a home that a contractor would have. So that's been a really good help for a lot of people, sort of not knowing what to expect, what to ask for, what's possible. So we have that knowledge base. The main thing that we do for all of the folks across Western New York, whether it be a church, a renter, a homeowner, a small landlord, is first thing, get folks a energy assessment on their home. And residential energy assessments are completely free for all New Yorkers, regardless of income. It's a great way to start, just to kind of get to know your house. And I like to use myself as an example. I bought my home. I'd lived there a few years, started volunteering at Push, and found out about these assessments. And one of the first things that the auditor found out was that there had been no fire door connecting or disconnecting the hot water tank from the rest of my kitchen. So it was just like sitting out there next to the refrigerator. And that my hot water tank also had it was vented to outdated code standards. So there was just a little bit of carbon monoxide wafting around my kitchen for all of these years. An energy audit will help you find that out. Luckily, my house was not insulated, so it was drafty. So I imagine most of the carbon monoxide was blowing back outside, but and then we will go over the work scope. After having the audit done, the auditor will create kind of some different options of steps you can take to be more energy efficient with your building. And we can help you go over that, explain what it means, help you figure out what might be most cost effective. And for some customers that have kind of long range vision of, say, wanting to completely electrify, is that I kind of think this is why people are here, right? We can help you take the steps. We consider it a journey. So you have your home, you make sure it's snug and sealed and insulated, and then maybe, I don't know, get yourself an induction cooktop, kind of smaller ticket items, and then work your way up to who knows, an EV charging station in your garage. I mean, not station, EV, yeah, EV charging in your garage. So we kind of like to take folks on a journey, we consider it. Next slide, please. And this is our team. We have a special guest here, Emily Edmonds. Sorry, I was close. Emily Edmonds is the Sustainability Campaign Educator for the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Cattaraugus and many other counties. Yes, so welcome. This is her second Wednesday working with us, and she's just been great. She's been awesome. Yeah, next slide. Okay, this is just something to consider. Have folks here had an energy assessment done? Or your church, home? No, not on the church yet, but you will, right? So similar questions, because the theory is kind of similar, whatever type of building you're using. If it's a church, a home, the only thing that might be different is if you have, say, a restaurant where you'll have like lots of big appliances to consider. The kind of questions. It might seem invasive. Looking at it now, I'm like, that's a lot of questions we ask people. We'll have to find out if you own or rent your home. There are obvious limitations when you rent your home to get kind of more aggressive measures done, like cutting a hole and blowing in insulation. A landlord would have to approve that. And how old your home is. That can give us a good idea of if insulation was even something people were thinking about at the time your home was built. And are the utilities in the name of someone that lives in the home? The goal, basically NYSERDA's goal is to make buildings more efficient, because again, a renter may move several times to make the building efficient, and then also to save energy use for the person that pays the bill. So if the landlord has the utilities in their name, it kind of limits opportunities, but there still are some. Your source of income, how long you've lived in the home, heating sources. Oh, my volume's dropping. I'm sorry. Thank you. Ooh. It's a little awkward. If there are areas of your home or property that concern you, that can be a good way of finding out if, say, your home has had additions, possibly the additions to the home were not insulated. So that's something else we would ask. And oh, that's a little distracting. Yeah, I see what they are. It's just they kind of covered up the. All right, next slide, please. So this is where Jay will offer his expertise and experience.
The questions are coming at the end, correct?
Yeah, those are.
We're going to do it in the next car, so we can use a microphone. Okay. If anybody wants to ask a question, raise your hand. Perfect. My name's Jason Posner, and I saw Lou ask earlier how many folks had an energy audit or energy assessment. Was there? Can you raise your hands again? Okay. We have to get the rest of the folks into the program. It's very important to have an energy audit. The next couple of slides we're going to go over is going to deal with building science and basically show in your home where your air leaks are, where you can save money. There's some DIY tips as well. But having an audit to find these measures is really important. If you look at the top left picture, that's basically a thermal camera that's showing all of the hot spots and all the cold spots in your house after the home is insulated. The bottom left picture is of a home being open blow. That's an attic. They're doing open blow. It's called cellulose. They would pile that about 14 inches high. What that does, it keeps all the heat down into your attic and creates a blanket so no air can escape. The photo just to the right of that That is a drilling patch. This home probably is a brick home where they have to do it from the inside. Typically, you would do it from the outside. If it's vinyl on your home or wood, asbestos shingle, there's a bunch of different types of exterior siding. You pull up a strip between each cavity, you drill a hole, put a hose in there, and you dense pack it with cellulose in every cavity. Then you would put a plug in it. You would put the siding back on and you wouldn't even know that the house has been insulated. This is the way to do the walls. As far as the basement, we'll get into that, I believe, on the next slide. It'll show the rim joist, which is your basement where the wall ceiling hits the floor. We can go to the next slide, please. So what is energy efficiency and weatherization and air sealing? The picture on the left is basically showing where your home, all the cold air comes. It infiltrates into the basement. That's where it starts at ground level. You can see the blue arrows going through, air leaking into the house. So by sealing up the basement, which we call the rim joist around the perimeter, a lot of folks in older homes have fiberglass stuffed in there. We use a 2-part polyurethane sprayed about 2 inches. That'll seal every nook and cranny of all the air coming in. A lot of times folks who have the fiberglass in there, over time it gets dirty. You'll see cobwebs. You can see air blowing in. By sealing that up and negating all that cold air from coming in, that's going to be the first step to make your home most efficient. Up in the attic, as you see all the orange arrows going up and out, you see recessed lights, the attic hatch. There's some can lights, we call them. The last slide I showed you, by dense packing the attic floor and an open blow. So by creating a barrier on the top of your home and in the basement and stopping the cold air from coming in and letting the air escape, you're keeping all that air into your home, the warm air. So it's basically tightening up your building shell is what we call it. And by doing the walls, same thing. On the right picture top, you can see around the chimney, they're air sealing around that chimney and making sure they're preparing that when they do the attic floor. A lot of folks may not have attic floors where it's an open attic. The way you do an attic floor insulated is you pull up the floorboard, you get your hose in there about 6 inches or 8 inches on some 2x8 framing, and then you pack that in, put the board back down, and then you have your whole attic to walk through again, which is insulated. The bottom right photo as well is what I was talking about in the basement. That's a rim joist, and that is spray foam insulation in every cavity where a lot of folks might have fiberglass bats in there, which doesn't really, it's a form. I know way back, they used to use stuffed newspaper and stuff it in there, but it's come a long ways with the polyurethane foam. So that would be pretty much, we'll save questions for last. If anyone has any questions on these slides or any DIY measures, anything you'd like to learn about, I can answer them in the end. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Jay. This next set of slides is dealing with the most common technologies that people are generally interested in if they want to use clean energy. So that would be heat pumps, either ground source or air source. So heat pumps, air source heat pumps are familiar to all of us that have refrigerators. It's basically a way of getting the heat that's always in the air all year long and bringing it into your home, and then transferring that heat into your living space. And then the other option is ground source heat, in which you use pipes with different types of liquids and send them into the ground and capture the heat that's always far underground and bring it up into your home. And then you can reverse it and use that same liquid. It can absorb the heat in your home and shoot it back outside. So there's no combustion as far as what benefits are. I would not have had to worry about the carbon monoxide in my house if I'd had a heat pump hot water heater. Nothing's burning to produce that energy. So that produces cleaner air. And I would have to say, I'm not sure if it's in here because I didn't make this slide deck. kind of contrary to popular belief, air source heat pumps are more effective. I know there's a lot of concern, how will the grid keep up and everybody's going to be draining on the grid, but you've taken out the step of burning the combustion to then create the heat. You've taken out that whole step. So they're actually more efficient. So a lot of folks have found, again, contrary to the fear, that if you use air source heat pumps, you can use them to heat and cool your home. And it would very likely either balance out or even cut down on the electricity you would use to heat your home separately and then say to run central air. So I didn't have a chance to put that in, but I thought it was important to put out there because we live in a cold climate and a lot of folks just think it's not possible. Can't be done here. Our air, is magically different than the air in the rest of the country, but it's not. Yeah, I would say that's about all for that. Next slide, please. So here's just a graphic with the different types of heat pumps. There are labeled, what's the word? Cold climate air source heat pumps that have been specifically developed for our climate here. So what may have been the case possibly with earlier iterations of heat pumps, yeah, the efficiency and efficacy for our area, they work here. And ground source heat pumps, that can obviously be a lot more expensive up front. You got to start digging up your lawn. But again, there are, for both of these sources of heating and cooling, there are incentives both from New York State and through the Inflation Reduction Act. They haven't been kind of fully formed yet, but they are on the horizon and coming very soon. Next slide, please. So here's some other photos of what cold climate air source heat pumps are looking like these days. You don't necessarily have to have, that big box that looks like an oversized like swamp cooler thing outside in your yard. You don't have to have that anymore. They're very lovely, unobtrusive things like mini splits that just look like a little bit of venting, on your ceiling. So a lot of different options these days. Next slide, please. And here's a little more about ground source heat pumps. The loops or wells, you can either go horizontally if you have a lot of land to work with, or you can go vertically. As you can imagine, that upfront cost again is a lot more. But then on the back end, there's really not much to maintain. Again, nothing is burning to create your heating and cooling. So the maintenance costs of either of those sources is going to be less, just hands down going to be less. So that's something to consider. Next slide, please. I don't know, this isn't too easy to read. So, I'm sorry. And that also reminds me, please, if you could make sure you have signed in, and if you use email or you like snail mail, let me know. These took so long to get approved by NYSERDA that I didn't get to create the handouts I wanted to create. They took us up to the 9th hour. So this is information you'll be able to, hold in your hand and see. But you can see by the graphs of looking at the far end on the left for both of the graphs, that's the upfront cost. Yes, it's higher than conventional heating and cooling, but the costs either drop or like stabilize in a way that it does not do with conventional sources. And apologies, I know that's going to be really, look at everybody trying to see. Don't try to see, don't try to see. Just make sure I have your contact info and I'll get it to you. Next slide, please. So the program we work with the most is now called Empower Plus. This program is funded through New York State Energy Research Development Authority. It's geared towards low to moderate income folks, possibly fixed income. If you get assistance like HEAP or SNAP, or SSI. It's kind of geared for that income and a little bit above it. And there are also now geographically eligible areas. NYSERDA's found parts of New York State where, based on a lot of different criteria, that most of the folks are, a little bit economically challenged for the most part in this area. And so those areas are listed. If you live in one of those, and even if your income is not 80% or lower, you could qualify for Empower Plus, which is, I think, awesome. Because it just includes things like access to resources. So I haven't been able to look all over, but if you're in an area that's, say, hard to get to important services like hospitals or things like that, that's a challenge. So even if your income is a little higher, your cost of living is probably going to be a little higher. So that's a new thing that's great. And as I mentioned before, the person living in the residence, someone living in the residence must have their name on the utility bill to qualify. Next slide, please. Okay, I was hoping Jay could help me with this in case I missed anything. So what Empower and other New York State programs try to do are things called direct install measures. And it's kind of a short list, but it's actually very cool. There are things that an installer will do, auditor will do upon entering the home. So we've had folks that say they're really conservative. They wear like coats in the house all winter, so they don't actually have a high bill. An auditor can still come in and say, you know what, you've got 12 light fixtures in here with different levels of efficiency. I'm going to put in 12 of the most efficient of the moment light bulbs. So, I think it's awesome. So those measures could include advanced power strips. NYSERDA loves power strips. I was gonna try to get Jay to demonstrate, but I forgot with his laptop. Tiny little laptop, still sucking juice after he turned it off. He showed me today, look at this. So advanced power strips really make a surprising difference. Carbon monoxide detectors, as thankfully I got in my house. Furnace filters, again, LED light bulbs, pipe wrap, low flow shower heads, which are great, smoke detectors, door sweeps, programmable thermostats, which can also make a surprising difference in efficiency, and weather stripping, something else that's overlooked. I had no weather stripping on the doors in my house. I don't know what I was thinking. I was like old school, like rolling up a blanket, and you push it up against the door and somebody opens the door. That is among the direct install measures with Empower Plus. Next slide, please. Eligible measures. Would you mind taking this, Jay? Things change a lot and it can be hard to keep up, but Jay's good at that. You want to see it on my phone?
So yeah, with the new Empower Plus, it switched over to Empower Plus probably about 2 or 3 months ago. They've included a lot of new measures, which Lou had spoke on a few: air sealing to reduce the drafts. We have added insulation to keep the home more comfortable, which you can see they have their markers up. And when I spoke about going 14 inches high for a blanket in your attic, that's what that's showing as far as an open blow goes. Replacement of inefficient refrigerators and freezers with new energy certified models. They will replace up to 1 refrigerator or 1 freezer now. What we'll do is they'll come in and monitor your refrigerator for 1 hour. If it has high kilowatt usage or over 30 years old, it is eligible for a new refrigerator. They'll take the old one out and then they recycle them. Installation of clean heating and cooling heat pumps, which Lou had spoke about in the last slide or 2 slides ago, and a monthly electric bill credit of between $5 to $15 from community solar for low-income households only. So we're going to get into community solar in a couple of slides down. I'll let Lou explain how that works as far as everybody's eligible for community solar. So it is a free program. And everyday strategies and tips to help maintain energy costs, which is education. When you have an audit done, the auditor will come out and spend 10 to 15 minutes educating you on tips you can do to take your own measures to say, which I call DIY, which are power strips, turning lights off, simple things. If you have a pool, you want to use your filter at certain times and put everything on timers. So that's just an example of all the education what they'll go into. And then we have next slide, please.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Jay.
no problem. That was a new slide.
Yeah. So this photo was my contribution to the slide deck. So it's not people standing outside because they don't have homes. They're outside because they're so excited that they were able to enroll in a free community solar project, one of the many that New York State continues to build. And the way it works is you would subscribe to the community solar project. You don't own it. You don't have to worry about installing. So this is great if you're a renter, or even some customers we had that did everything shy of putting solar. And they were like, yeah, I'm not trying to stay in this house. I'm retired. I'm going to be here about 5 more years, then I'm out, like to Florida. This is a great option to get clean energy into your home without having to do that. The energy is produced and you would not be off the grid, however. You'd still be dealing with whatever your utility is, but you would receive savings generally between, I think, about $15 a month at this point. And that comes right off your bill. I bring this up because something that's been happening lately, now that community solar's, I guess, gotten a little sexy, a little trendy, is a lot of for-profit companies are building solar farms. And they've done things like create a really complicated billing process, had people pay to take part in the community solar, which I was like, why would you have to do that? Like, this is less expensive for everyone. You're going to make a profit, right? And just really confusing, very confusing billing. So New York State's really stepping up on community solar. And also if folks are approached or get like a postcard, sign up for cheap community solar, you can give us a call. We can look them up. We might even know of them and think about different options, more consumer-friendly options. Next slide, please. Okay, this program Jay and I have been talking about a lot. It's the Comfort Home program. Very exciting program because there are no income qualifications. It's point of sale rebates on Energy Star windows if you've had certain levels of insulation done. There are 3 different options. If you do attic and rim joists, it's $1,000. If you do attic, rim joists, and walls and floors, $2,500. And my apologies for the quality of this graphic. And then if you seal your whole house, you can get $4,000 towards Energy Star windows. Awesome. The problem is most energy efficiency installers, they don't do windows. So we're working on finding installers that either subcontract for Energy Star windows or do the installation. It's a work in progress. So we're doing what we can. However, it's still a good thing because a lot of programs with the Inflation Reduction Act and with New York State and other agencies will require that your home be insulated and super energy efficient, because then, like, say, the size of your heat pump installation won't have to be so big, so it won't cost so much. So insulation is the way to start. I know we were approached to talk about the IRA, and I was like, should we even do this? But I thought we should because electrification is interesting, it's sexy, it's great. But if you haven't taken the first steps, then you're really not, I don't want to say not doing the planet a favor, but in a sense, what in the world? Is that someone's lovely ringtone? I was like, wow, we got background music. So yeah, in one sense, I guess it is kind of not doing the planet a favor. If you keep using all the energy you want and heat your pool to what, 150 degrees all year long, and you power it with a heat pump, like, come on, people, that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to reduce the energy burden overall. Next slide, please. So this is the transition. Electrification, again, as I said, it's a journey, kind of for all the people, and then for each person and each family and each business, each church, to start thinking about where you are, assess where you are. For small businesses and nonprofits, there is a cost share towards energy assessments. I believe the last I looked, it was about $200 maybe, depending upon the size, number of employees. That's what determines how much they'll charge. And then also the energy usage of the building. I have details of that. If folks are interested, you can call, and it's fingertip handy on my desk, just not in my head at 7 o'clock at night. So that's the first thing to do, to kind of figure out where you are. I'm sorry, is there a question?
They totally going to get rid of incandescent?
Absolutely.
I have a daughter that has a medical condition that she can use the other modern kind.
Really?
She has to have people
Repeat the question for the people at home because.
Okay.
they're not hearing.
I mean, should she just buy 1,000 light?
Okay.
Old-fashioned light bulbs now?
So the question is, one of our guests has a daughter that cannot use LED light bulbs, and whether incandescent bulbs were being phased out completely. I'm inclined to say, as far as I know, yes.
I believe
Oops.
maybe. Is it the color temperature you're talking about with the light bulb? Because the incandescents are more of the yellow tint, where an LED, the cooler it gets, it's more of a white outdoor light. I believe that's where you're getting at. With the LEDs, if you get a softer tint, it will be more close to an incandescent color. I think that's what you're talking about.
If it's the color, I'm not sure what it is
Okay.
that gives her the problem.
Okay, I believe that might be color temperature, because a lot of folks with the 6500, for instance, cooler LED, they have a problem with that. It's just
It's harsh.
harsh on their eyes, on their whole, their whole aura, I should say. But as far as discontinuing incandescents, it'll be a while, but right now they're not making many. You can still buy them, I would say. Within the next 5 to 10 years, they're probably going to phase them out.
Is smart.
Stock up. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
If it's something that gives her migraine headaches, I don't know does it bother her, like headaches? Okay. Yeah, that's what we have for you. Thank you.
it's even worse when it happens at your office at work.
Right.
Yes. So the question is about medical, and I guess you could say maybe sensory effects of LED bulbs versus incandescent bulbs. If you'd like to give us a call and we can sort of look around, because the other thing is, even if you stockpile incandescent bulbs, LED bulbs are just so much more economical and practical. It's at the point now where if a bulb blows, I don't know what's going on because they've been there for 10 years. I haven't had to replace them.
They have a tad of mercury.
Yeah, and they also have mercury in them. So when they break, it can cause an issue. So yeah, give us a call, and when I go in tomorrow, I'll look around. Oh.
I'll just go to this mic.
For the folks at home who are joining us by Zoom, they will not hear questions that come from the audience without amplification. So please hold your questions until the end, and we'll have them on index cards and to be read over the microphone at the end, okay? Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, thank you. I forgot to say that. Okay, so next slide, please. So this is just to kind of flesh out a little bit more the idea of looking at this as a transition, a trip with a great destination. Make sure to insulate, make sure to weatherize, get your building as energy efficient as you can, and then start thinking about electrification. Next slide. And a little bit more about energy efficiency, something, as I said, we should already be considering. I think folks are familiar with the Energy Star guides. Yeah, they're bright yellow stickers you can't get off the side of the, yeah. Next slide, please. So this I won't get into too much, just because it can vary so much from household to household, like based on income and size of your home, orientation of your home. But just to be really clear, there are still really good incentives through New York State to have solar on your home or on your property. I know that the federal incentives are like, some will of course come back when the IRA is fully fleshed out. But yeah, and then also the other reason that I thought it was important we do this is to not have folks kind of be waiting for the IRA to be fleshed out. Do not wait for that. Take all of these steps now. We are blessed to be in New York State, which is serious about energy efficiency. So there are programs and incentives and rebates, just a lot of steps that we can take to be prepared. So when the IRA does roll out, we're not like, oh my gosh, my house still uses a ton of energy. I didn't upgrade my electric panel yet, because those are going to sunset, don't forget. The IRA is not permanent yet. I don't know if folks are organizing to make it something that's part of our national fabric, but they're not permanent. So you want to be ready. You know, we got your foot in the block and you're, so these are just things to consider when you're looking at solar. Next slide, please. Again, I spoke about community solar. Yeah, next slide, please. And here is a little bit about what we know so far about the Inflation Reduction Act. It was signed into law last August. And what it primarily does at the moment is create and fund tax credits. Not everyone has a big enough tax liability to offset, you know, whatever the rebate might be with their taxes. So that's something else to keep in mind. Don't want to give too much detail because, again, it can vary from person to person and household to household based upon income. But I can tell you this, tax preparers, they know, they are all about it. And the surprisingly, the IRS.gov, I think it's /inflation, yada, yada. That's really kind of easy to understand. And again, tax preparers are up on this. So definitely something to bring up. There's also funding provided for communities and community-based organizations to adopt clean energy technology. Again, those are really varied. I don't know. I feel bad that everything's so up in the air. These are just, like I said, things that are on the horizon. They're coming. They're just not quite here yet. And also, the IRA is encouraging US manufacturing, which will eventually mean tons of jobs, tons and tons of jobs. And in theory, things shouldn't cost as much. There won't be a tariff for importing. So that's something else good that's coming. Next slide, please. And here is detail about the rebates. I guess they call it HERA. I haven't actually heard anyone say it out loud. High Efficiency Electric Home Rebate Act. I think it's HERA. So just to kind of give it a rundown, depending on income, the HERA can provide rebates on certain clean energy technologies. Oh my goodness, what was I looking at? Like, say, a used EV car. Depending on your income, the rebates can cover different percentages of the cost. And those are point of sale, which also means you don't have to, necessarily put all the money out of pocket up front, which can be tough, but know that it will be taken off the cost of those items. This is really hard to read. Oh, and there are also incentives for heat pump water heaters at the moment, heat pump heating and cooling appliances. Those are live right now. Electric stoves and cooktops. Those rebates are live right now. And something I'm really excited about, heat pump clothes dryers. My mom lives in a retirement community where they switched to these. And they are amazing, absolutely amazing. I didn't know how it would work, but yeah, and I can just imagine the savings. If you're washing your clothes with like gas and then, using electric and then drying them with gas, I cannot imagine the savings. They are costly, but again, rebates are live and they work so well, incredibly well. Very gentle on your clothes too, because they don't get it like that. Clothes can get like bone dry, like too dry, in a regular dryer. And then also breaker boxes and electric wiring to kind of get folks preparing for things like electric cars, being charged at home. Heat pumps obviously are going to need, 220 instead of 110? 220 instead of 110. So you'll have to upgrade your breaker boxes. There's rebate funding for that, which is live right now. And weatherizing, not so much, which I think you can understand because there are so many other programs that can assist with weatherization, but there is a little bit. And overall, let's see if it's there. Right, so point of sale consumer rebates, rebates also for multifamily buildings. So if there's someone that owns, say, 5 or more units, little smaller, multifamily, there are rebates also for electrification for those folks. And yes, it's in bold, which I apologize for these slides. The rebates are only available if you're replacing a non-electric appliance, which is unfortunate. So if you have like an older, what did they call those, Jay? The electric cook stoves that use resistance? Yeah, so replacing one of those, unfortunately, you wouldn't get a rebate for. However, especially with rebates, we know how the market is. Prices are going to drop. They're going to drop to be competitive. That's the nature of the beast we live in. And stay tuned in 2024, which is when you don't necessarily have to have a tax liability. Incentives and rebates will be expanded. Different programs that are being fleshed out will be coming. Next slide, please. And here's kind of a breakdown, what I mentioned. Again, my apologies. I didn't get to see this before. Just please make sure we have contact info that I can send, so I can send you this information. Thanks. Next slide, please. Oh, I forgot, battery storage also is eligible for tax credits, which can be awesome for folks, again, who live where we live and have weather that can affect whether our lights are going to stay on or not. So yes, I forgot that. Batteries and also wind power. I don't know if folks have enough land that they're thinking of wind. Probably not many of us. And home vehicle chargers and electric vehicles as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so thank you all so much. Oh my gosh, look at the time. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having us. And please reach out. One thing that I could say for sure, Jason, myself, and Emily, folks that are in this line of work, we are detectives. If you could, as I said, make sure we have your contact information. If we smell something like an incentive or a rebate or catch wind of it, we're going to find out what it is and we can let you know. That's a whole other part of the job. You know, you're living your life, taking care of your family. You don't have time to spend an hour, as I said, digging through. So we can help with that. We can definitely help with that. So thank you again.
So because there's redundancy. Is this okay? This one's for Jay. If you have an air source heat pump, can you leave your windows open in the summer?
You can, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can.
Here's a really good question. Is there a better time of year for an energy assessment? Does it matter?
The better time in the year,
Yeah, you got to use
the best time of the year is probably in the winter time. In the winter is the best because you can see with the thermal camera the air loss, right? You can see the cold air and the heat loss coming out of your home. So I would say yes, the fall, winter, when the temperature is cooler is the best time.
There seem to be a lot of questions about the incentives, differences between point of sale, tax credits and things of that nature. Maybe you can say where people can get more information about these things.
Sure thing. So there is a site you must memorize. I will have you repeat it after me. Rewiring America. Let's say it all together. Rewiring is one word, and they have had their finger on the pulse of the Inflation Reduction Act probably before it was signed. It seems they had like a book out last year. Like what? How did you know all this?
I just asked that, it's on that blue sheet up there. Those are links, and one of it is the rewiring. It has a calculator.
Thank you. Yes. So on your way, make sure to look at this blue sheet. Rewiring America has a calculator, so you can plug in your household income, find out what level of incentive you would qualify for. I mean, you name it, soup to nuts. Everything that is known right now about the IRA, Rewiring America knows, and they're very accessible. There's also nrdc.org, Consumer Guide to the IRA. Again, it's up here. And yes, whitehouse.gov, IRA guidebook. I think that's where, yeah, that takes you to the tax credit information. And NYSERDA.gov .ny.gov. I'd say if you're having trouble sleeping, get a cup of tea, pull it up on your tablet. And then call us after your good night's sleep. And just to be clear, point of sale is when the rebate goes to the person selling the appliance or doing the install, the energy efficiency install. So they take it off the top. You don't have to pay up front the whole price, fill out paperwork and mail it somewhere and wait to get money back. It comes off the top. A tax credit is a form of kind of a rebate, but what it does is offset your tax liability. So if you always end up owing $5-6 grand, you can purchase an item and then part of that cost will offset your tax liability. The regular rebates, which I don't think there are going to be many of in the IRA, are again the ones where you buy the item, have the installation done, the install, fill out a form or go online, prove you did the work, and then wait to get money back, if that helps.
Spray insulation, are there non-toxic or recycled materials used?
There is non-toxic in spray foam. It's a polyurethane foam, which is fire retardant. So home goes up in flames, they to say, it won't catch fire. The same thing in cellulose insulation, which is the shredded paper that's treated with a boric acid. They're both non-fire retardant.
There seems to be some confusion about the community solar and is there a contrast between community solar and you on your national grid can sometimes check off that you want to have another company, like a solar company or wind power company, be your, you know where I'm going with this?
I do indeed. Right. So the question makes me shudder a little bit is about if enrolling in community solar is different from having, I think there would be called another supplier. So say NYSEG would still like get the electricity to you, but someone else would supply it. I don't have too much to say either way about that, but I can say from personal experience, I found out the hard way. There is a lot of misinformation, kind of a lot of sleight of hand, a lot of tricky language. It's hard to sort of know who's legitimate and who's not. And I thought I was doing something good. And then when I tried to sign up for, I believe it was the low income HEAP program, I couldn't do it because I had the supplier and it took me like 8 months to get them to stop being involved in my electricity. So make sure you know everything before you sign. Make sure, just buyer beware.
I have one last question here. Would push come down to do the energy assessments, home energy assessments in this area, or would you refer that out to Chautauqua Opportunities, which is another organization doing work down here?
Yes, we refer them out, even though we do have an auditor in-house to avoid a conflict of interest. We refer folks out to independent contractors. When it's possible, we love to come along and be there for the audit and to kind of make sense of things as you go along and ease the conversation sort of with the contractor, but we do not do assessments or installs ourselves.
I'd like to thank Lou and Jay for coming tonight, and thank you. Oh,
I just looked at.
okay. I have. Oh, you have another one?
Oh,
Too complicated.
Emily can answer.
Oh, are there heat pump tankless water heaters?
Yes.
Yeah, they exist.
There is.
Okay.
And do you know what the major source of electricity is in Chautauqua County?
Source like,
From a lot of people who are campaigning saying, oh, we're getting all our energy from dirty coal
places in Pennsylvania, or, that, and I guess I haven't really found out if that's really which.
That is an excellent question, and now you've got something to distract me tomorrow in the office because I'm gonna try to find out. That's very important because, like you say, some people are like, great, we're gonna electrify and you're creating the electricity with coal and nukes. That's not what I wanted. So that's an excellent, excellent question. Thank you.
I have one. Can I just add on to that?
You gotta write it down, because they can't hear you on Zoom.
Mhm. Did you sign in?
No, I haven't, but I will.
So
How-
if you wouldn't mind signing in and just making a note, like coal and a little stick figure. Thank you.
How deep in the ground are geothermal heat pumps?
I think 15.
15 feet, yeah. It's about 15 to 20, depending.
That's
on-
for the vertical, and then I
For-
think the
right.
well ones are upwards of 300
Those
feet.
are more.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are, about 300
Yeah, I think about 15.
for the wells.
Make sure you're talking to the mic, guys.
Oh, sorry.
The wells are about 300, yes. The verticals are about 15 to 20 feet.
I'd like to say something about efficiency of the air heat pumps. I went to a contractor training yesterday for hair. And I was talking with one of the gentlemen who lives in Vermont, and they have oil heating because they have rock and they can't put gas lines in the ground up there. And he typically spends $600 a month heating his house in the wintertime gas. And he switched over to all heat pumps last year. And he didn't spend any money on oil, and his monthly electric bill went up $80. So they're saying that the coefficient performance rating on the air heat pumps are 300 to 400%. So for every dollar you put in to electricity to run your heat pump, you're getting $3 to $4 worth of heat if you were using a resistance thing. So they're really,
It's great.
and they're just going to keep getting better.
That's right.
Yes. Thank you.
We could answer this. People around here, people